Uh, Morning, everyone. My name is Reynolds Musha. The agenda for the class today is to give you a guideline and an overview of what to expect when it comes to Fin4801 as well, all the way through to what you should expect all the way through until you write next year in January, February next year as well. So you'll see that I'll share the details of our information as well on our website. Between now, which is in March, until end of October, our plan is that we're going to be going through the you should be going through the study units as well. So the plan is that we need to be going through the study units, which is basically the different chapters in the textbook. So the idea here is that we need to be going through the different chapters in the textbook. So you will see that when you look at the different chapters in the textbook, when you look at the different chapters in the textbook, in your textbook, the chapters that you're going to be covering is chapter 1 all the way through to chapter 17. So the chapters that are relevant for you for Fin4801 is chapter 1 all the way through to chapter 17. Now, of these chapters, please take note that from chapters 1 to chapter 8. So from chapters 1 to chapter 8, the material that you should expect to be covered under these chapters 1 to chapter 8, it's basically a review of things that you have done at undergrad level. So it's basically a review of things that you should have done at undergrad level. Then from chapters 9 to chapter 17, that's when you're going to be looking at material at what? Postgrad level. So chapters 1 to chapter 8, you see that it's basically material that you've covered, though that you're deemed or assumed to have covered at undergrad level. Then chapters 9 to chapter 17, this is basically where you look at material that you should have done, that you're going to be looking at now at a higher level as well. So if you look at the breakdown of the first 8 chapters of the textbook, you will see that for the first 8 chapters of the textbook, chapter 1 looks at the overview of financial management. And this is basically very much linked to things that you should have done when you're doing Fin2601. Then chapter 2 looks at time value of money. And chapter 3 looks at risk and return. And chapter 4 looks at portfolio management. Chapter 5, so when you look at time value of money, this is basically where you look at time value of money using your financial calculators. So they are basically introducing you to the time value of, or reviewing time value of money concepts as well. Because remember, this chapter is very, very important because it forms the background of things that are of the other chapters that you're going to be looking at as well, where you're now looking at application of time value of money principles. Like, for example, the other chapters where you look at application of time value of money principles is where you look at the valuation chapter, the cost of capital chapter, capital budgeting, further issues in capital budgeting, all these other chapters as well. You're now looking at application of time value of money principles as well. So for Fin4801, remember what we're going to be doing is that between now until end of October, that's when we should be done going through the different chapters. Now, when we go through the different chapters as well, you will see that I'll also go through with you our schedule. So the idea is that when it comes to the calculator that you need to be using, is the most recommended calculators or the prescribed calculators usually are the HP 10B2. So the calculator that I usually used for is the Sharp 738 or the HP 10B, 10B2. So these are the common calculators that are usually prescribed or recommended for students to use. But if you have other calculators as well, you can be able to utilize the other calculators as well. But these are the most common prescribed calculators when it comes to financial management and related modules for UNIS and most cases as well. So these are the common calculators. So you see that as you go over the videos that I'm going to be referring you to, so that you're able to use them to actually, as we go over the curriculum as well. Please note that the guidelines that we're going to be giving you when we look at time value of money principles are mainly based on the Sharp 738 and the HP 10B2, and they are all financial calculators. So in this case, they are financial calculators. So the financial calculator that you'll be using so that you're able to as we go through the material and the videos for the curriculum as well. So remember I said the first 8 chapters is basically review of things that you do. It's basically review of things that you have done at undergrad. So you'll see that as we go through this material as well, there is some section where they give you different variations of analysis, which is not necessarily things that you have done when you're doing your undergrad. We don't really emphasize much on them, mainly because the lecturer basically mostly look at material which is basically based on what things that you have assumed to be done when you're doing your undergrad as well, because it's assumed to be a continuation as well. So you see that, as I said previously, chapters 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, which looks at risk and return. And remember the chapter 3, which looks at risk and return in this case, the risk and return chapter is basically where you're looking at the relationship between risk and return. So you're now going to be looking to see exactly how do you assess or how do you calculate the return of a single asset, and how do you calculate the return of assets which are so that you are able to now look at how do you calculate the return of assets which are going to be in a portfolio, which is leading on to chapter 4 of the textbook. So chapter 3, you're mostly looking at calculating the risk and calculating the return of mostly a single asset. Then chapter 4, you're now going to say, we know that a combination of assets gives you a portfolio. So how do you now calculate the risk and return of your assets which are in a portfolio as well? So that's when you see that chapters 3 and chapter 4, they're very much linked to each other. Then chapter 5 looks at financial statement analysis. So when you look at chapter 5, which looks at financial statement analysis, you see that for financial statement analysis, the main thing that you need to take note from there is ratios. So the main thing that you need to take note from chapter 5 is ratios. Now, for exam purposes, if ever the lecturer brings a question on ratios, right? For exam purposes, you'll see that since you are looking at financial management at postgrad level, it means they are assuming that probably you would have been introduced to ratios when you were doing your first year, and you've seen ratios in your second year, and you've also seen some ratio concepts as well when you're doing your third year. So which means when it comes to financial statement analysis, when you're looking at ratios there, yes, you need to know the formula for the ratio. And so you need to know the formulas for the ratio, and you need to know in which category the formulas fall under. Like, is it a liquidity ratio? Is it an asset utilization ratio? Is it a debt ratio? Or is it a profitability ratio? Or these other ratios as well? Or is it a relative ratio as well? So now, remember we said you need to know the formula for the ratio, and you need to know in which category each ratio falls under. But remember, these are things that you've done at undergrad. So at postgrad level, expect that if a question comes in the exam and it's to do with ratios, just knowing the formula and knowing the category in which the formula falls under, it's not enough. For you to be able to get the bulk of the marks, that's when you're now going to be looking at interpretation and analysis of the ratios. So you see that a bulk of your mark allocation is going to be coming from interpretation and analysis. If you just go into the exam and you just solve the ratio as it is, and you get your answer, and you don't do the interpretation analysis of your ratios as well, you will see that you end up getting from the full mark allocation for that particular question there, your marks that you're going to be getting there is going to be very little, if not half of the mark allocation for that particular question, because they are saying at undergrad level, we have seen or you have come across ratios so many times before. So it's not enough for you as a student to just know the formulas for the ratio and calculating the ratio as well. You see that the bulk of your mark allocation is going to be coming from what? Interpretation and analysis of the ratio, so that you're able to make recommendations. Now in your analysis, that means you're going to see, is the company performing well or is it not performing well? Because remember, when you look at ratios, you can either do a time series analysis where you're comparing the performance of a company now against what it did 1 year ago or 5 years ago or 10 years ago, or where you're comparing a company against its peers or against a competitor or against a benchmark as well. We will refer to that as a cross-sectional analysis as well. So it's not enough for you to just know the formula for the ratio and in which category the ratio falls under. For postgrad level, you need to now make sure that you're also able to do the interpretation and analysis of the ratio, because that's where you are able to get the bulk of your mark allocation for a particular question. And remember, all these chapters so far, you have seen them at it's things that you'd have covered at second level if you're doing financial management. It's Fin4801. All these concepts are covered in the textbook. Remember, for Fin2601 and Fin3701, students use the same textbook, just that with the same textbook, the first couple of chapters, they are covering Fin2601 material, and then the other chapters are covering Fin3701 material. And then there's also Fin3702, which is also going to be where those chapters in Fin3702 are also covered in this in here as well. Then the next chapter looks at valuations. When you look at valuations, this is where you're looking at the valuation of either a company or the valuation of a share as well, right? So you can looking at valuation of either a company or valuation of a share or valuation of other sources of financing, like for example, valuation of bonds. So when you look at the chapter on valuations, you're looking at valuation of a company, or you're looking at valuation of a sources of capital, which is basically the valuation of equity, or the valuation of what? Of debt financing. So that's basically what you're going to be looking at in chapter 6. And remember, these are chapters, these are things that you should have done or that you should be familiar with, or things that you've covered when you're doing your Fin2601 as well. Then the next chapter that comes after that as well looks at cost of capital. Now, cost of capital, basically, you covered this concept when you're doing Fin3701. So when you're doing Fin3701, that's when you did cover this concept of cost of capital. So which means when you look at cost of capital, you're basically saying that in your valuation of your security, remember we say the value of a security today is the present value of expected future cash flows. So the value of a security today is the present value of expected future cash flows. So which means if the value of a security today is the present value of expected future cash flows, how do we now ascertain to say, so how do we value this cash flows back to present value? Which means when you look at your timeline, you're basically saying, let's say for example, it's a share that you want to hold on to for the next 3 years. It's a share that you want to hold on to for the next 3 years. So if it's a share that you want to hold on to for the next 3 years, let's say, for example, you're expecting that it's going to pay you a dividend in year 1 of, let's say, 10 Rand, and it's going to pay you a dividend in year 2 of, let's say, 12 Rand, and it's going to pay you a dividend in year 3 of, let's say, 14 rand, right? Then when you sell this share at the end of year 3, you are expecting that you're going to be able to get a sale proceeds of an amount of, let's say, 200 rand. So which means when you're saying the value of a security today is the present value of expected future cash flows, it means you're going to be discounting this cash flow back to present value, and this cash flow back to present value, and this total cash flow of 214 rand back to present value. But how are you discounting it? You're going to be discounting it at a certain what? Discount rate. So these discount rates that you're going to be discounting it at, that's basically what we're referring to as what? As your cost of capital. So that's basically going to be your cost of capital. And if it's a firm or whatever, if it's a bond as well, remember you're also expecting future cash flow. So when you discount this future cash flow back to present value, that's when you're going to be looking at what using the discounter to discounting back to present value as well. So which means this discount rate that you're going to be using there is basically what we're discussing there under that chapter where you look at what? Cost of capital. So you're now going to be looking at it exactly. So what are the different discount rates or the different variations of discount rates that you're going to be using for your cost of capital? If it's going to be bonds, if it's going to be shares, or if you're going to be valuing a company, where if you're valuing a company, you're going to be looking at what your discount rate is going to be, your weighted average cost of capital as well in that case. So that's basically what you're going to be looking at when you look at the chapter on what? The cost of capital, which is chapter 7. Then chapter 8 looks at capital budgeting. So when you look at capital budgeting, we're basically saying, as a financial manager, you are going to be using different techniques to decide whether an investment is worth investing in or it's not worth investing in. So when you're looking at capital budgeting, we're basically saying they are using different techniques to decide whether an investment is worth investing in or it's not worth investing in as well. So when you look at the chapter on capital budgeting, the different capital budgeting techniques that are available is where you're going to be looking at, for example, the net present value method. You're going to be looking at the IRR method, and you're going to be looking at the payback period method. And then you can also use the accounting rate of return method as well. So these are the different or are the main common capital budgeting techniques that are also used as well. So you see that in the exam as well, you can either be asked to find the net present value, the IRR, the payback period, or the accounting rate of return. But in most cases, the lecturer will not make it this simple way, because remember, the lecturer is saying, if we just ask you the net present value on its own, or the payback period on its own, or the IRR on its own as well, it's as good as asking someone an undergraduate at undergrad level, but we need to look at it at postgrad level. So what the lecturer does is that when it comes to these concepts, they mash up the different concepts as well. And when they mash up the different concepts as well, that's when they're going to be, you will see that there are other chapters that are going to be looking at as we go on now from chapters 9 going forward as well, where you're now looking at what? Going in depth. So when you do an in-depth analysis as well, there are so many other things that you're going to end up mashing up together. Even if you're just calculating the net present value, there are other concepts that you're going to be taking into account as well in coming up with a capital budgeting decision as well. So remember what I told you. The first 8 chapters, you are basically looking at reviewing things that you would have done or that you assume you should have done at undergrad level. For those who don't, I've not really properly introduced myself. My name is Reynolds Muusha, and my contact number is 084 855 8155. So I tutor with RM institutes, and we are a private institution that offers tutorial classes to students as well. So we're a private institution that offers tutorial classes to students as well from different institutions as well. So I've been tutoring this module for quite a while now, because I started tutoring in 2010 when I was doing my honors as well at University of Pretoria. So as I was saying, the first 8 chapters of the textbook, the main concept there, or the main theme, is that you are reviewing things that you would have done at what? At undergrad level. That's the main theme that you should expect from the first 8 chapters of the textbook. So is there any question on the breakdown of what you should roughly expect when we look at the first 8 chapters of the textbook? Any questions? Now, after the first 8 chapters of the textbook, that's when you are now going to go on and have a more in-depth analysis of the material as well. So after the first 8 chapters of the textbook, you are now going to go further and have a more in-depth analysis of the material. So you see that after the first 8 chapters of the textbook, what comes after that would be so what comes after that, after the first 8 chapters of the textbook, chapter 9 looks at further issues in capital budgeting. So it looks at further issues in capital budgeting. So which means it's a continuation of what you would have covered in chapter 8. So when you look at further issues in capital budgeting, and also when you look at capital budgeting risk analysis as well, these chapters are very much interlinked, or they are very much linked to each other. The reason being, when you look at further issues in capital budgeting, when you look at it in chapter 8, you're assuming that projects, they are running for the same period of time. You're assuming that the projects are going to be having the same amount of risk. But we know that in real life experience, projects are usually have what? Different time horizon. One project can be running for 3 years, another project can be running for 5 years, another project can be running for 15 years as well. So now when you look at further issues in capital budgeting, one of the issues that you're going to be addressing there is, how do we now compare projects which are going to be running for a different period of time, to say if the projects are going to be running for different periods of time, if they are mutually exclusive. When they say mutually exclusive, we're saying that they are competing with each other, where one project, it's either you choose one project or the other project. So if you have a choice, mainly because you have limited resources, you're not able to pursue all the projects. And because you're not able to pursue all the projects because you have limited resources, it basically means that some projects are going to be competing, where you can only choose one of the given list as well, or you can only choose a limited number of projects from the given list. So given that information as well, now how do we now ensure that we're able to compare those projects which are going to be having or running for different periods of time, where one project can be running for 3 years, another project can be running for the next 5 years or 8 years or whatever period of time. So which means, if that is the case, how do we now say, okay, I'm going to choose project A and not choose project B and C as well? Then the other issue that needs to be addressed as well is where you look at the concept of risk, where we're saying that not all projects have the same risk exposures. So not all projects have the same risk exposures, which means one project can be riskier than the other project, depending on the nature and the environment in which you're running those projects as well. So because of this, basically means that, how do we now adjust for risk in making our choices to say, using the capital budgeting techniques to say, how do we adjust for risk using the capital budgeting techniques so that we're able to now decide whether we should choose project A or choose project B as well. So that's basically where you look at considering what the risk analysis and capital budgeting. Then in that section as well, this is where you're also going to be choosing, having options to say, if we have the flexibility option to say, either I can run this project, even if I'm planning to run this project for the next 5 years. If I have the option to discontinue the project after 2 years, after 3 years, or after 4 years as well, is it going to be worthwhile for me to take okay, fine. So that's when you're going to be looking at what? Risk analysis in capital budgeting as well. Now you're going more in depth, which is basically at a higher level compared to what you've done when you're doing undergrad level. Then chapter 11 looks at working capital. So your working capital is basically where you're looking at your analysis of the comparisons between your current assets and your current liabilities. Because your current assets minus your current liabilities gives you your working capital. And remember, this is the capital that you need for the day-to-day operations of the business. So for you to be able to continue having proper liquidity, you are going to be doing analysis of the working capital as well. And there are different ways that we look at the analysis of what? Working capital. And then from that chapter as well, this is where we're going to be looking at finding out exactly, so how do we determine the working capital needs, and how do we also look at what how do we determine the different working capital needs as well, where you're looking at what the different financing, where you say, are you going to be looking at the different methods that are used in funding your projects as well for working capital, whether it's the aggressive method or it's the conservative method. But we're going to be looking at that in detail in chapter 11. Then chapter 12 looks at current asset management and short-term financing. So we need to find from, so which means it's a more in-depth analysis and continuation from chapter 11, because you're still looking at working capital, but you're now going more in depth as well. And you're going to be looking at concepts such as the additional funding needs, where you're not trying to find out exactly, so how much is the additional funding need that is needed for a company, considering our projections of going into the future. And you're also going to be looking at projections to say, so going into the future as well, what is going to be our projected sales revenue, or how do we make projections of different values as well going to the future using the regressive averaging in chapter 12. Then chapter 13 and chapter 14, they are very much linked to each other. So chapter 13 and chapter 14, they are very much linked to each other because they look at the accounting equation. So chapter 13 and chapter 14, they are very much linked to each other because they are looking at the accounting equation. Remember, when you look at the accounting equation, you're going to say your assets is equal to equity plus liabilities. So which means when you look at your equity, we are basically looking at your ordinary share capital. We are looking at any reserves that you might have. You're also looking at retained earnings. Then as a hybrid form of equity, which is basically a hybrid between equity and liability, this is where you're looking at what? Preference share capital. Then when you look at liabilities, typical liabilities is basically where you look at bonds, if the company is going to be issuing bonds. And another typical source of liability is basically where you're looking at loans. Then there are also other variations, but these are the typical sources of equity and liability as well. So which means what we're saying is, when you look at chapter 13, when you look at sources of financing, you're not going to say, to finance our assets of the business, what are the different sources of financing that you can be able to utilize? So which means we're going in depth in analyzing these different sources of what? Of financing. So we're going in more detail in analyzing these different sources of financing, basically. Then chapter 14, this is where we look at the capital structure. Remember we said, if you still remember what you covered in second year when you're doing Fin4801, and what you covered in third year when you're doing Fin3701 as well, and even Fin3702, you will see that the main theme there was, we said, remember we said the goal of the firm is to maximize shareholders' wealth. And how do you maximize shareholders' wealth? So which means if the goal of the firm is to maximize shareholders' wealth, it means to maximize shareholders' wealth, we need to maximize the firm value. So to maximize shareholders' wealth, it means we need to maximize the firm value. So which means that for us to be able to maximize the firm value, we need to make sure that we're able to maximize the value of our financing, so that the more we're able to maximize the value of our assets there, we're able to maximize the firm value as well. So the more we're able to maximize the value of our assets, the more we're able to maximize the firm value, which means in that case, which means if that is the case, it basically means that for us to maximize the firm value, if you still remember from undergrad, there used to be this graph, which was something like this. There used to be this graph, which was something like this, which gave us the sources where you look at debt financing, and then we look at the firm value, and then we look at the cost of capital. Then we look at the cost of capital. And then we say, when we look at this as well, to maximize the firm value, the graph would be something like this, where we are saying to maximize the firm value, we need to minimize the cost of capital. So to maximize the firm value, we need to minimize the cost of capital. So which means in this case, remember now, it's now linking to what we have done previously when we were looking at what? Chapter 7, where we look at the cost of capital. Where we said, when you look at the cost of capital, we need to minimize the cost of capital, so that if we're able to minimize the cost of capital, we're able to maximize the firm value. And remember, our cost of capital in this case is the weighted average cost of capital. And the weighted average cost of capital takes into account the cost of debt, the weighted cost of debt, and the weighted cost of what? Of equity as well. So for us to be able to do that, to minimize the cost of capital in that case, we need to be able, so that we're able to maximize the value of the firm in this case. So which basically means that when you look at your capital structure, you're now saying, when you're now looking at the split between equity and debt financing. So when you're now looking at the split between equity and debt financing, you're basically saying, what percentage of debt can we have as a firm that allows us to minimize our cost of financing? So what percentage of debt in our capital structure can we have that allows us to minimize our cost of financing, which is our weighted average cost of capital? So that if we're able to minimize our weighted average cost of capital there, we're able to maximize the value of the firm. So that's basically what you're going to be looking at in chapter 14, which looks at the capital structure. So when you look at chapter 14, which looks at the capital structure there, that's basically the main theme of what you're going to be looking at under chapter 14, which looks at the capital structure there. So far, as you have seen, chapter 9, chapter 10, chapter 13, and chapter 14, you are now looking at financial management at a higher level. You're basically looking at financial management at a higher level. But remember, chapter 11, it's more or less things that you should have done when you're doing your undergrad, which is basically linked to Fin3702, although they introduce you to a bit more higher level concepts as well under chapter 11. They introduce you to things that you've done when you're doing your Fin3702. Then they also look at financial management at a higher level. And the same applies with chapter 12 as well. Remember when you look at the management of debt financing as well. So this is basically where you are also looking at saying, so how do you now manage the current assets so that you're able to manage your working capital properly as well? And remember, the main thing there is that What you know with certainty is what your obligations are. You know how much you're owing and you know exactly when you're supposed to pay it. But what you don't know with certainty is your current assets. Because remember, you don't know with certainty exactly how much are you going to receive the money that you're being owed, and when are you going to be able to sell your inventory. You don't know that with certainty. So the more you're able to manage your current assets, the more efficiently you're able to manage your working capital as well. So you see that these chapters are very much linked to each other. So chapter 11 is linked to chapter 12, and chapter 13 is very much linked to chapter 14. So you need to make sure that you bear that in mind as you go through the different chapters as well. Then chapter 15 looks at leases. So chapter 15 looks at leasing, right? So when you look at leasing, this is where now I'm saying, as an organization, remember we said, the goal of the firm is to maximize shareholders' wealth. And for us to be able to maximize shareholders' wealth, we need to minimize our cost of capital. Now, in the short run, we also need to make sure that we are able to minimize our costs as much as possible. Remember, it makes economic, so a better economic decision is the one way you're making a decision where you're going to be able to minimize your cost for a given, you're able to minimize your costs as much as possible as well. So if you're able to minimize your costs as much as possible, it basically means that you're able to maximize your returns, your positive returns in the short run. And if you're able to maximize your positive returns in the short run, it basically means that that also contributes towards what? The goal of the firm, which is to maximize shareholders' wealth as well. So now when you look at leasing, this is where the company or the organization is now trying to make a decision to say, should we outright buy this asset? So should we borrow money and buy this asset? Or can we as well, instead of outright borrowing money and buying this asset, can we go into a leasing arrangement where we're basically paying, in simple terms, a rental fee, which is basically the lease payment, and in exchange, the lessor is the one who's going to allow us to utilize this asset over the given period of time. Just like what it is when you're going to be hiring a car, or when you're going to be paying rent for your business premise as well. So that's basically the borrowing and buying or leasing decision. So you need to make that decision, right? And remember, for capital budgeting purposes as well, when you're making that decision, you're now going to say, whichever decision I'm going to be making is going to be based on what? The one with the lowest cost. So you're now going to be comparing going the leasing route against going the borrowing and buying route, and see exactly, so does the leasing route gives me an advantage, which is what we call net advantage of leasing. If the leasing route gives me an advantage, then it basically means that I would rather go the leasing route. Then if the leasing route does not give me an advantage, it basically means that I would rather borrow money and buy the asset. Now, the nice thing about chapter 15, which looks at leasing, is that for some reason in the exam, always expect a question on leases. There is no exam that I can remember. I remember the lecturer saying specifically, for some reason, they are obligated to ask a question on leases. And because of this, it basically means that going to the exam, I've never seen a Fin4801 exam that did not have a question on leasing, never. So a question on leasing, always expect that question to come. And in most cases, the question on leasing is going to be carrying about 15 marks on average, 10 to 15 marks, depending on exactly how in-depth the question is. Usually it's about 15 marks on average. So it basically means of the 100 marks that you need in the exam, if you're able to master the chapter on leases, then it basically means that you already have 15 marks in the bag. You are now looking for the other 35 marks for you to get a pass in the exam. Because no matter what happens, the question on leases is always going to come. Now, the nice thing about the chapter on leases is that there's only two ways the lecturer can ask you that question. Only two ways. One way is where you're going to be doing the amortization or doing the amortization. And the other way is where you're going to go directly and look at the calculating the net advantage of leasing directly. So the one way you do amortization, then you calculate your net advantage of leasing. And the other way, you don't need to do amortization, you directly or straight away calculate your net advantage of leasing on your template. Those are the only two ways that you are going to be asked that question. Now, how they can try to trick you now is basically the timing of the cash flows depending on the different ways. So for me, if you're able to master the chapter, the question on this is, you already have 15 marks of the 100 marks that you need in the exam. Which means that if you already have 15 marks, it basically means that you just have to get the other 35 marks from the other questions as well. And then your problem is sorted. You have a pass for Fin4801. And remember, there are only two ways that they'll ask you this question. And this question always comes in the exam. So the chapter on leases is very important. Always expect it. And remember, so what I usually do with my students, if you look at them, the videos that where we are going through the chapter on leases as well, you will see that when we go through the chapter on leases, we don't even go through the textbook. What we do is we look at historical questions, and then from a historical question, from that historical question, we look at it from a perspective where we're doing amortization, and then we also look at it from a perspective where we're not doing the amortization. And that's it. So in the exam, know the chapter on leases is very, very important. Then after this, we also look at dividends and share buybacks. And in most cases in the exam, the lecturer will either ask you a question on dividends or they'll ask you a question on share buybacks. When it comes to this particular chapter, if the questions come from this chapter, they'll always ask you one of the two. Either they ask you the question on dividends or they ask you the question on share buybacks. So when you look at dividends, this is where you're looking at the dividend policy to say, so how do we come about the dividend policy? How is that they come about the dividend policy and how do they determine the dividends? Like, for example, when you look at the residual, the common one under dividends there is where you look at the residual theory of dividends, where you're saying, is the company going to be able to pay dividends, given their capital budgeting needs, or are they not going to pay dividends at all? Then when it comes to share buybacks, this is where the company is now going to say, instead of us buying back shares by using cash in the market, we can also what? So instead of us giving out dividends to the shareholders, what if we buy back the shares from the market as well? So instead of us giving dividends to the shareholders, what if we buy back the shares from the market as well? And then you are now going to bring at the effects on your balance sheet as well to say, so what is going to be the effect on the balance sheet if we do a share buyback as well? And how is it going to end up affecting the share price? And how is it going to end up affecting what? The number of shares within a company as well. So this is basically where you look at what? Share buybacks. Now, the last chapter in the textbook looks at mergers, acquisitions, and corporate restructuring. Now, when it comes to this chapter, in the exam, the lecturer doesn't really go too much in depth in trying to trick you when it comes to the questions of mergers and acquisition. In most cases, the lecturer loves to ask theory questions, and the lecturer loves to ask questions where you're now looking at calculating the premium and see exactly, so what is the theoretical price of the share as well after the two companies merge. Because remember, when you look at mergers, acquisitions, and corporate restructuring, this is where you're now going to say, for example, typically one company A is looking to acquire company B. So if they are looking to acquire company B, how is it going to end up affecting the share price and the number of shares as well, depending on how they looked at acquiring them? Is it a merger of the two companies, or is it in an outright acquisition? And are they, in acquiring this company as well, Are they offering them shares, or are they offering the existing shareholders shares, or are they what? Using cash as well to acquire this particular company as well? So that's basically what you're going to be looking at: mergers, acquisitions, and corporate restructuring as well. So the most common question that the lecturer loves to ask under this chapter is theory questions, although in simplified form, without going too much in depth, without complicating it as well. They can also ask you questions on mergers and acquisitions as well, where you are now asked to see exactly, so what is the theoretical price after the mergers of two companies, or what is going to be the earnings per share after the mergers of the two companies, and how is it going to end up affecting what the total number or the profitability of the companies after the mergers as well, and how is it going to end up affecting what the earnings per share, considering that as well. So that's typically what they ask when you look at what mergers, acquisitions, and corporate restructuring. So these are the chapters that you should expect when you look at Fin 4801. So are there any questions so far when it comes to the overview of what you should expect for Fin 4801 when we look at the different chapters that needs to be covered for Fin 4801? Are there any questions? Now, the next thing that I need to highlight as well is that when it comes to Fin 4801, how we are going to go about this is that typically they give you 5 assignments for Fin 4801. So they typically give you 5 assignments. Now, of these 5 assignments, you see that 2 of these assignments can be longer type of questions. We'll be having structured questions. The other 3, usually, it's just those short questions. So typically, they give you 2 structured assignments, and then the other 3 assignments are basically made up of those short questions as well, where one assignment can be having about 5 questions, or another assignment can be having about 10 questions as well. So that's typically how the lecturer asks you, but there is usually about 2 assignments which are going to be longer type of assignment, or structured assignments as well. So what we're going to do is, when it comes to the structured assignments, which are basically the longer assignments, I'll be going through them. If you enroll with us, I'll be going through those assignments with you as well. Then the shorter assignments, what I'll do is I'll prepare the memo, I'll make reference in the textbook as well, and I'll give you the memo. So which means that, remember, they don't give you these assignments all at once at the beginning of the year. What they do is, over time, the lecturer will open up assignment 1, assignment 2, assignment 3, assignment 4, assignment 5. So as the lecturer, usually when they open up those assignments, they open up these assignments at least a month before the due date. So when they open up those assignments, if it's a structured assignment, we're going to be doing that assignment together in class. But if it's a short type of assignment as well, I'll prepare the answer to the assignment, and then I'll also share the weight document, which is basically having the formulas, the answers, and also the reference sections that are covered in the textbook as well. So that's how we're going to go about when it comes to the assignments. And remember, between now until end of October this year, that's when we should have covered in detail the study units or the chapters. Then November, December, January, and February, we're going to be specifically, we always leave that period for revision. So that's when you are now going to be opening up for a revision as well, where you're going to be able to access the material for revision as well. So when you look at our timetable for Fin 4801, when you look at our timetable for Fin 4801 on our website, so if you check on our website, that you can be able to access. So if you want to register with us as well, or when you decide to register with us, on our website, you are able to access the timetable. And on our website, you're able to access the videos of what was done last year. You're also able to access the soft copy of the textbook when once we create a user account for you. You're also able to access the videos of going through the chapters, and also the videos going through the past papers. Because what we have on our database is that we have videos of us going through the past papers from 2017 until May, June 2022. So which means during our revision period, we're going to be looking at the Jan-Feb 2023, which is the paper that was written just now. And remember, the results started trickling in this week as well. So what we're going to be doing is that we're going to be gathering the information on from our students regarding the exam results as well. Then we'll share out exactly publish to say so many students were within a particular range when it comes to their mark application as well. So that you're able to see as well how the previous students performed as well. Then, so what I'm going to do is we are going to be looking at the Jan-Feb 2023 paper in class together with you. And then we're also going to be looking at the May-June 2023 paper together with you as well. Now, for the 2022 papers going backwards, you will see that there is videos and there's also question papers and answers or memos to those question papers as well, which is PDF documents with the question papers and PDF documents with the memos of those question papers as well, which we are going to be making available to you so that you're able to utilize them and go through these videos just like you're in class as well. So that's basically how we have structured this module for you. So you'll see that on our timetable for financial management on our website, so on our timetable for Fin4801, today we are having, as you can see here, today we are having a class from 8 o'clock, depending on exactly what time we finish, whether we finish at 10 or we finish at 9:30, depending on exactly what time we finish. The main thing that we need to address with you today is to give you an overview of what to expect when it comes to Fin4801. Then what I'm going to do is that now over time, when it comes to those assignments, which are structured assignments, we're going to go through those assignments with you. Then when it comes to those assignments where we are going to be just sending you the memos, we'll also just send you the memos as well. But remember, we will communicate with you. That's why you see that when it comes to the assignments, it's just saying time to be announced. Because remember, we'll announce the time depending on exactly when is the lecturer releasing that assignment as well. And also we're looking at what is the due date. So as we go along, we're going to be updating that information depending on exactly what they say is the due date for each assignment, so that we're able to look at the assignments and then tell you exactly how we're going to go about those assignments. But if you enroll with us, we are going to be able to assist you with the assignments as well. Then after this, sometime in June, but we're going to make that announcement as well. Sometime in June, we are going to go through a class, and the class that we're going to be going through is where we are going to be reviewing the first 8 chapters of the textbook. So sometime end of June, we are going to announce the date, and in that particular class is going to be a class from 8 to 12. So it's a class in June or end of June, which is going to be from 8 to 12. And in that class, we're going to be reviewing things that you should have done from chapters 1 to 8. So what we're going to do is, how we're going to go about this curriculum is that we are going to open up videos of going through chapters 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then when you open up those videos, going through those different chapters, on your own, you are going to be now going through those videos on your own, right? Then after you go through those videos, we dedicate a class. And in that particular class, we're going to be addressing questions on things that you found difficult when you're doing those 8 chapters. That's basically how we're going to go about this curriculum. So we open up videos going through the first 8 chapters. Then after that, we dedicate a class from 8 to 12 on a given day. And in that particular class, we review the first 8 chapters. If there's any questions on things that you wanted more details or more explanation on, we address those things. Then after that, we also have another assignment class as well. Then after that assignment class as well, what we're also going to do is that sometime in November, I think it's going to be around the 14th of November, 14th of October, we are going to have another class as well. And on that particular class, it's going to be from 8 to 12. Now, on that particular class, we are going to be reviewing things that you found difficult when we're going through chapters 9 to 17. So you're now going to be asking, when you're going through chapters 9 to 17, we're going to be addressing those things that you found difficult as well. So please take note as well that as you are going through these videos in your study, as you are studying, if you find anything difficult, I'm open for you to be able to send me a WhatsApp message and say, I'm struggling to understand this. I went through the video, I'm struggling to understand this, I'm struggling to understand that, so that I'm able to explain in detail. If there's a need, I can also quickly organize a consultation, a quick consultation session with you, where I can open up and say, okay, what is the question? Let's address this question. But if it's a short question where I can answer you on WhatsApp as well, over and above these dates, I'll be able to address your concerns as well. Then, during the revision period, for which I'm going to announce the dates as well, because we are still, once we know the assignment dates, the due dates for the assignments, we're able to now prepare the rest of the timetable for when we're going to be covering what material. So during the revision period, what we're going to do is from beginning of November or from end of October, after our class reviewing chapters 9 to chapter 17, after that class, immediately, we are going to make available the videos going through the past papers, and you will see that these videos are coming from 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022. So we're going to be opening up these videos, and as we open up these videos as well, we will make available the question papers and the PDF documents with the memos to those question papers, so that as you go through these videos, you will also be having the question paper and the memo, so that you're able to follow to see exactly what is happening. Ideally, what I would recommend is go attempt the questions. Then when you attempt the questions, go through the video and go through the question, go through the video and go through the memo, so that you're able to see exactly what you got wrong and how you got them wrong, so that you're able to now correct as well. So what we're going to do is, we already have a database of videos going through 2017 all the way to 2022 papers. So we have the database of the videos, we have the database of the question papers, and you also have the database of the memos of those question papers as well. Then you can go through them. Then what we also do is that from around 2020 onwards, we also have a database of assignment questions, and we also have videos of those going through those reviewing those assignment questions as well. So we also have a database of assignment questions, and we also have a database of videos going through those assignment questions, and we also have a database of the answers or the official answers to those assignment questions, so that you're able to review those past assignments as well. So as part of your revision program. Then together in class, during the revision period as well, what we're going to go through with you in class, we're going to go through the Jan-Feb 2023 paper, and we're going to go through the May-June 2023 paper, so that we're able to update our database. Then what we'll also do is that we will also share the question paper, and by the time we get to revision, we would have prepared the memos to those question papers as well, so that you're able to use that as part of your revision program. Then what we're also going to do during the revision period as well, those questions with structured questions, we are also going to go through them with you in class. So we're going to review. Remember, the lecturer, by then, the lecturer would have sent you the memos to the assignment questions, isn't it? So when the lecturer sends you the memos to the assignment questions, what we're also going to do is that we're going to review those questions with structured questions, those assignments with structured questions together in class with you. Then we're also going to, sometime in January as well, we're also going to schedule, that is January next year, we're also going to schedule a discussion class where we're going to say, now that you've been going through all this material, is there anything that you're finding difficult? And if there's going to be anything that you find difficult, we address those questions. So which means in that discussion class, you highlight the question, you share the question together with everyone in class, and we go through that question together as well, so that we're able to address anything that you find difficult. So that's basically our schedule of exactly what we're going to do and how we're going to approach the curriculum. Are there any questions? So what we're going to do now is, for the month of March, we give students free online classes. So for the month of March, we give students free online access. So which means, as we give students free online access, it basically means that once you create a user account with us, so if you go on our website, you see that on our website address is rminstitute.co.za, of which I'll also share that information with the different students in different groups as well, right? I'll share the information on our website. So on our website, you're going to, if you click on student login, on our website, you will see that there's two options there. If you have not registered with us, it basically means that you can click on register. Now, this is basically to register for you to be able to create a user account. So which means in this case, if you click on register, then it basically means that if you put your email address, you create a username, and you create your password, you are going to be able to create a user account on our website. When you create the user account on our website, for the month until the 31st of March, during this period, we use this period to give students the opportunity to register, right? So during this period as well, we give students free access to our website. So we give students free access to our website. Now, when they get free access to our website, they're going to be able to get a limited access to some of the videos going through the first few chapters. I think it's the first 4 chapters of the textbook. So you get access to the first 4 chapters of the textbooks, the video going through the first 4 chapters of the textbook in the month of March. You also get access to, you're able to download the soft copy of the textbook as well on our website. So you're able to get access to the videos going through the first 4 chapters of the textbook. You're also able to get a soft copy of the textbook. So which basically means that you are able to start studying during the first month of March. Remember, this is basically obligation free, in the sense that even before you make any payment, even before you register with us as well, once you create the user account, and then you indicate to me on WhatsApp as well, to say this is my email address, and this is the modules that I want to have access on as well. We are able to link you so that you're able to access this material over the month of March. But please make sure that by the 31st of March, you are registered, because if you're not registered by the 31st of March, it basically means that your access is going to be cut off. So to avoid any cutting off of your access, make sure that by the 31st of March, you are you access, you are registered officially with us, so that you're able to not to continue accessing the materials. Because for you to be registered officially with us, it basically means that we need to send you an email with the registration form. Then you fill in the registration form, and when you send back that the registration form with us, then we consider you to be officially registered with us. Now, in future, after you create the user account, in future, that's when you're not going to say, you put in your email or your username and you put your password, then you're able to what? Access your user account in that case. Now, when you access the user account, just give me a second to open up to access with the user account. So when you log in, when you log into the user account, when you log into the user account, so when you log into the user account and using your username and your password as well, you see that the website will take you to the front page of your user account. So you see that the website will take you to the front page of your user account. So it will show you, it will take you to the front page of your user account, right? Then as it takes you to the front page of your user account, it will confirm exactly how many courses are you enrolled for, how many courses are active, and how many have you completed as well. So it will now give you the list of the modules that you are registered for as well. Okay, just give me a second. I just want to add on other the other modules as well on the back end. Um, All right, I'm just quickly adding Fin4801 to my demo user account so that you can see exactly how to access Fin4801 when it shows on a user account as well. So on your user account, you see that it will show the list of modules that you are enrolled for. So on your user account, you see that it will show the list of modules that you are enrolled for. I've just added now Fin4801 to the list of modules that I'm enrolled for as well. So it will show you exactly the list of modules that you're enrolled for. And then if you click on the module, you will see that it will now give you it will give you on the first page, they give you an overview of exactly what are the different chapters that are covered. Then it also give you, now when you click on curriculum, it will give you an exactly, the first thing that you will see there is basically the videos going through the different study units of your curriculum. So you'll see that the first thing that you see is basically going to be the videos of the first 17 chapters of your curriculum. So that's basically what you're going to be seeing. So when you click on curriculum there, you see that there are different videos that are made available for year 2021. Of the first chapter 1 overview of financial management in chapter 1 as well. So you see that this is the video that was taken in year 2020, which was the first videos. Then there was a video taken in year 2021, and there was a video taken in year 2022, which covers chapter 1 as well. So you can just choose the latest video, preferably the latest 2022 videos, because those are the latest videos that where we went through chapter 1 of the curriculum. Then when you scroll down, you see that there is now videos for chapter 2 of the curriculum as well. And chapter 2 of the curriculum is basically made up of part 1 and part 2, because they're basically what 2 parts in this case. Then when you click on show more sections, you are now scrolling further, going down the different tabs that are available and giving you the different information as well. So which means when you click on show more sections, you see that it's now giving you information for chapter 4 of the textbook. And now it also gives you chapter 3 and chapter 4 of the textbook. Then if you click, say, show more sections as well, you see that it gives you chapter 5 of the textbook, and then it gives you chapter 6 of the textbook as well. Then if you click on show more sections as well, it will give you the videos of chapter 7, chapter 8, and if you click on show more sections as well, it is giving you videos of chapters 9 and chapter 10, and when you click on show more sections, it's now giving you videos of chapter 11 and chapter 12 of the textbook. Then when you click on show more sections as well, it's giving you videos of chapters 13 and 14. And if you click on show more sections, it's giving you videos of chapter 15 and 16 of the textbook. And if you click on show more sections as well, it's giving you videos of chapter 17 of the textbook. So do you see that? So which means when you log in and you click on the modules that you're registered for as well, you will see that the first thing that you see on the under curriculum there is the videos going through the first 17 chapters of the curriculum. So you're going to be looking at the videos of the first 17 chapters of the curriculum. Then from there, if you click on show more sections, you will see that after chapter 17 of the textbook, you will see that there is a tab which allows you to download the textbook as well. So if you're able, for you to be able to access the soft copy of the textbook as well, there's a tab which allows you to download the soft copy of the textbook. So if you click on this tab, you're able to access the soft copy of the textbook. Then the other tab that is available, which is also below that as well, is the one that is showing you the Fin4801 material. In this case, it's revision material. So if you click on this tab, for example, this is the tab which allows you to access the past question papers and past memos as well, and assignment memos as well. So if you click on this, you see that it gives you the link to the Google Drive. Then when you click on this link to the Google Drive, you will see that it gives you assignment memos, past question papers, past memos as to those question papers, and it also gives you the homework questions and memos as well. So that's so when you click on this, you're able to download. If you click on this as well, it will give you the list of the past question papers which are also available that you're able to access as well. Then when you go back and you click on this as well, it will give you the memos to those past question papers as well. Then when you go back to this page as well, you see that this is where you are now going to go backwards so that you're able to access the videos of the going through those question papers. Remember here on this tab, we said you are able to access the question papers and the memos as well, right? So when you go back on this tab as well, you see that if you click on show more sections, it will now show you the videos going through those question papers. So it gives you the videos going through the Feb 2018 paper, the May, June 2018 paper. And when you keep scrolling down there, it will also give you, if you say show more sections, click on show more sections, it will give you the videos going through the 2019 papers and the assignments as well for 2019. And it will give you the videos of the 2020 material as well. It will give you the videos of the 2020 material, the homework questions, the February 2020 paper, and it also give you the May, June 2020 paper. Then it will also give you the video of the consultation class that we did in 2021. Then it will also give you the video of the assignments that are relevant for structured questions for those years as well. And then it will give you the videos of the February 2021 paper, and it also give you the videos of the May, June 2021 paper, and also the consultation class and the practice questions that we did as well. And it also give you the videos of going through the memos to the memos and the videos going through the 2022 assignments as well. And it also give you the past paper question videos where we went through the February 2022 paper and the May, June 22 paper as well. And then it also give us the video of the practice question that we did in the year 2022 in preparation for the exam, and also give you the video of the discussion class that we did on the 28th of February 2023 when we were preparing for the final exam as well. So you are able to access all this material and videos by going through these different tabs as well. So that's basically how you're able to access the material and the videos going through these different tabs. Are there any questions so far? Any questions? Now, for you to be able to enroll with us, enroll with us as well, we have different packages that are available. For you to be able to enroll with us, we have different packages that are also available for you to be able to enroll with us. Remember, we said the way we have structured this module is that going through the curriculum, on certain strategic dates, we have a class, and then we review what you should have covered during that period as well. So which basically means that we give you access to these videos. Then on certain dates, we give you an opportunity to ask questions on what you've covered during that as well. And because of this is why you see that when you look at our packages for Fin4801, the price is significantly lower than the other packages that we also offer for risk management as well. Reason being, for 1.5, for you to be able to going through have those sessions, online sessions on those strategic dates, for you to be able to access videos going through the different chapters and access videos going through the revision period as well, and for you to be able to access the material for the going through the textbook and the material going through the revision period where you're looking at the question papers and answers, and for you to be able to get assistance with assignments as well. Your fee that you're going to be paying there will depend on the different packages that we offer as well. So the premium package is where we're saying you pay the full free upfront and you get videos and question papers and answers and material of everything that was done last year upfront. Then over and above that as well, we assist you on those strategic days when we are going to be having online classes during the year. We also assist you with assignments as well. And this is the fee that you pay upfront if you choose the premium package. With the diamond package, we're basically saying that this fee of 1.1 of this fee, you are going to be paying it as and when for the next 10 months. So the 1,500, you're basically breaking it down into monthly installments. So if you break it down into monthly installments, it basically means that you'll be paying 150 Rand for the next 10 months. So if you pay 150 Rand for the next 10 months, it basically means that what we also do is that we give you videos going through the different chapters in the textbook as and when we go. We also give you then towards in October, that's when we also give videos of the going through this the revision sessions as well as and when we go from October onwards. Then what we also do is that we give you access to the soft copy of the textbook now. Then in October as well, we give you access to the question papers and the memos as we go through the curriculum as well. So that's basically the diamond package. So with the diamond package, you pay 150 Rand on a monthly basis. So which means that if you're paying 150 Rand on a monthly basis as well, we also give you videos as and when we go, and we also give you material as well as and when we go. Then there's these packages that are meant for revision. The Rhodium package is meant for students who are enrolling with us specifically during the October-November period, where they're saying, I'm still struggling going through the chapters, but I also want to be able to access the revision material. So they enroll for the Rhodium package. Then those students who specifically want to enroll specifically for revision, that's when they have the platinum package and the bronze package. With the platinum package, you're basically saying that you're able to attend those online classes, you're able to attend those discussion classes. But with the bronze package, we're giving you material and then you're basically studying on your own. But these are meant specifically for revision. We don't even open them up for students now. We only open up for students in October, where students are now going to be able to have different options now to say, do I still want to be able to access the material going through the study guide, going through the textbook, or I just want to go straight in and do revision as well. So these are the different packages that we offer for Fin4801. So for you to be able to enroll and register for these packages as well, what you just need to do is that I'll indicate my cell phone number on the group. Then from my cell phone number, you're able to send me your email address, and then I'll send you the registration form. But for those students who still want to be able to make up their mind during the month of March as well, what you need to do, send me a direct message with your email address and the modules that you want to do a trial for as well. Then we'll give you access to those modules as well during the month of March. But please make sure that you are able to register officially with us by the 31st of March, because from the 1st of April onwards, you are not going to be able to access, because from the 1st of April onwards, we're going to be opening up even more material for our students as well, so that they are able to, we're saying that these are the students who said they've now committed with us, which means that since they've committed with us as well, we're opening up more material for them. And over and above that, which means that whatever we're going to be giving you now, where for now, we are able to access the videos of the first 4 chapters for those students who are going to be enrolling with us officially as well. From April, we'll be giving you more and more and more videos as well. So that's basically how we are going to be structuring this particular module, and that's how we offer the module as well. And these are the fees depending on the packages that you also choose as well. Are there any questions? Any questions? All right. If there are no questions, this is where we're going to end today. So now on the different groups, between now until our next class, where we are going to be reviewing the first 8 chapters, please ensure that on a continuous basis, you go through the videos and the material that is relevant for the different chapters. So I'll be communicating with you on the WhatsApp groups to say, by now, you should have covered video for chapters what? By now, you should have covered video for this chapter as well, so that I'm able to now take note of the progress that students are also making, so that by the time we have the class reviewing the first 8 chapters of the textbook, everyone would have gone through the chapters. Then we're able to address any questions that anyone might have regarding anything that they would have found difficult during the going through the material as well. Then on a particular day, I think it's going to be sometime in April as well, we're going to be going through the first assignment, where on the first assignment, we're going to dedicate a particular class in April, where we're going to go through the first assignment with you, so that you're able to see exactly how to answer the questions as well. So are there any questions? All right, if there are no questions, your homework is go onto our website, create the user accounts. Then once you create the user accounts, indicate to me on WhatsApp, because I'm not able, I can see that someone has created a user account, but I wouldn't be able to know exactly for which module do they want to be linked for. So go on the website, create the user account. Then when you create the user account, send me a direct message indicating exactly what your email address is and which modules you want to be linked for. Then on my side, I'll make sure that I link you for those modules as well. But please also ensure that by the 31st of March, you would have officially registered with us, so that I'm able to make sure that you're able to continue accessing the material that we're going to be giving you as well. I see that there's a question there. Yes, you can unmute yourself and ask the question.
The question is around the program in terms of the classes, as to whether this is a tentative program or is it a final program now, which is based on the times that you would be running these courses, including the undertaking of the assignments at a certain stage in time, as per the due dates. So if that is the case, then one will be in a question now to say, if that is true, or that is not a tentative, it's just a perfect or final one, then does it mean it is going to be changing anytime soon, or not? Because I saw it, you put it in there as a program of action for the whole year.
So what is going to be, so we were just waiting. Remember the UNISA, when we prepared our schedule, we were under the understanding that by 20th of February, UNISA was going to be closing their registration period. But they extended the registration period until the 31st of March. I think it's the end of March, somewhere there. So the idea was that, so the idea behind the program is that we are going to be, since we haven't yet received the information regarding exactly what the due dates of the different assignments is. So we're still trying to gather the information for us to be able to see what the due dates of the different assignments is. But our commitment to you is that when you enroll with us, at least 3 weeks or 4 weeks before the due date of the assignment, we would have given you the memos, so that you have at least 3 weeks or 4 weeks for you to be able to go through the questions, and also if there's any questions, we address those questions as well. But for those assignments which are going to be structured, where it's going to be structured questions, what we're going to do is that's why we have left out dates which are written TPA, which means that dates to be announced, because it would depend on exactly how they structure the assignments as well. If it's an assignment where it's just short questions like true or false, indicate this and that as well, what we can do is that we create the memo for you. We show you the formulas, we create the memo for you, we make references, we post those assignments as well on the WhatsApp groups as well. That's basically how we're going to go through it. Then those, usually in a given year, they give you about 2 assignments which are going to be where there's going to be structured questions. When you look at structured questions, basically where they are going to be longer questions, where one question can be having about 10 marks, which is basically a longer type of question as well. Those assignments now, those are the ones where we're saying that we are leaving out the dates to be announced, because we need to gather that information. Once we know it, we have that information, those assignments, we're going to be going through those assignments together with you in class.
Thank you.
All right. Then, so when you look at the template of our schedule, that's why you see that the template of our schedule is basically not complete, because we are still waiting for more information on exactly on exactly when are the due dates of the different things that are going to be due as well. Because once we know the due dates of the assignments, everything else falls into place. So once we know the due dates of the assignments, everything else is able to fall into place as well. That's why you see that when it comes to Fin4801, because if you remember, in this case, when it comes to Fin4801, you see that we know the time. So the time the time is there already, is already indicated. But when it comes to the date, that's when it says to be announced, mainly because we are going to be announcing the date, because we're waiting to know exactly when is the due date of the assignments. Because once we know the due dates of the assignments, we know that, okay, it basically means that on this particular date, this is when we're going to be looking at the assignment. But we are going to be going through the assignments as well. Then what we're also going to do is that in June, we're going to be announcing the date as well. In June, we're going to be it's going to be end of June, where we're going to be reviewing the first 8 chapters of the textbook. Then sometime in October, we're going to be reviewing the chapters 9 to chapter 17 of the textbook as well. Then there's also going to be dates during the revision period where we are going to be having revision classes going through the 2023 papers and going through the reviewing the structured assignments as well, because the structured assignments are the ones which gives problems to students in most cases when it comes to the revision as well, to the exam. Are there any other questions, or is there need for further explanation there? Any other questions? So what I would say is your homework for now is go on the website, create the user account, indicate to me which modules you want to be linked for, have a feel, have a try of those videos, see if it works out for you. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But in most cases, we have seen that many students, they also find it very relatable, because when we look at going through these videos, it's basically how I was doing today, where we do the calculations on the board, we demonstrate things on the board, then we also highlight things that are also where we are covering the things in the textbook as well. So it's more like you're in class at the same time. So please, as your homework, create the user account so that you're able to access the material, so that during the month of March, you're able to have a feel of exactly how we offer these modules, so that you're able to now decide if it works out for you. And if it does, then you can officially register with us as well. All right, if there are no questions, enjoy the rest of the weekend.